$3,000. That's what I wanted to spend at most. Ideally, I want to spend like 25, 2,000, but let's just say we're going overboard. We're gonna splurge and we're gonna spend $3,000 on a bike. So I had a few options. Hey everyone, hope you guys are all doing well, and I'm at the beautiful Lake Ontario, and it's a lovely day, and it's a lovely day to discuss whether it's a good option for you to buy a bike, a motorcycle, if you're going back home and you are planning to stay there for a month, 2 months, or however long you want to stay. I was there for about 4 months. Last time I was there for I think 7 months. So I usually go for a long enough time where I really need a ride of my own, and it's more so desired if you are outside of the city, because when you're in the city you have rickshaws, you have plenty of rides that are available. But once you're outside of the city, you're in the villages. Sometimes to get transportation might be difficult. Some it could be easy, but sometimes it could be difficult. And in the village where I reside, it's rather a lot more difficult. You have to actually walk about like 2-3 kilometers in order to get transportation to come pick you up and take you wherever you want to go. So for some people, the best option is actually to get a motorcycle. Now you want to know whether it's good, or it's a better choice for you to get a used motorbike or a new motorbike, you know? And I'm not going to get too much into the laws and regulation of getting your licenses, getting registration, and all of that. That might be a separate topic. I didn't want to buy the most expensive bike. Like, I didn't want to buy the MT-15 or R15 or whatever. It's just it's too expensive, first of all, because with that kind of price I can buy a much better bike over here in Toronto. I can get a lot more cc out of it. What I ended up doing was that I tried to keep my budget below 2.5 lakh. And what is 2.5 lakh, you might ask me? $1 Canadian dollar is equal to 76. I'm gonna say it's 80, just to make it more convenient. And sometimes you do get that rate. It's going to be $3,000. $3,000, that's what I wanted to spend at most. Ideally, I want to spend like 25, 2,000, but let's just say we're going overboard. We're gonna splurge and we're gonna spend $3,000 on a bike. So I had a few options, right? You have options of the Suzuki Gixxer 150, all right? You have the FZS version 2 and version 3, Honda Hornet. You have the X-Blade. You have Pulsar. You have the Apaches. But me personally, I like to stick to my Japanese bike. I prefer not to buy the Indian bike. That's just me personally. I know that these bikes, they are made in India, even though they're Japanese brand. I'm aware of that, but I just wanted the brand value of a Japanese bike. And so I was left with three options. And one thing I gotta tell you is that I was actually interested in a Chinese bike. It's called the Lifan or Lifan, some people pronounce it. I think it's called the Extreme or some shit like that. It's an off-road bike. It was going for, I believe, 1,50,000, and they did not have the bike. And that's another thing, is that try to avoid Chinese bike. Really, I called everywhere, all of the locations. They did not have that bike. So imagine if I got that bike and I cannot find parts for it in my hometown. I gotta go to Dhaka. I gotta tell them, what if they send me a wrong part and they send me late? Don't deal with that headache. Get a bike that's popular and the parts are readily accessible and available for you to buy. Around that price range, for the good bikes you have, I'm gonna say 6 options, and or like 5 options more. Like, let me start with Yamaha, right? So Yamaha FZS version 3. It has ABS and fuel injection. The reason why I did not get the FZS version 3 is because, frankly, I didn't like the looks of it. Like, the front looked really ugly, and I might put the picture up here somewhere. But the FZS version 3, that's an ugly bike. Not like, not from every direction. I mean, I do like it from the side and the back, but the front headlight is so trashy. Like, I just have to pass out on that. I like the FZS version 2. Actually, I like it a lot. That's still, even though it's a very old bike, it's very popular, and there's a lot of demand for that bike. But the reason why I did not go with that bike was a little underwhelming in terms of its power output. It was rather slow, but the handling is great. It lacks when it comes to the power. It doesn't give enough power. And another bike that is like that is also the Hornet, Honda Hornet. I like the price point at some point. They did increase the price a lot more now, but it doesn't have like a kill engine switch. And for me, that was like, nah, I don't want it. So I told you I skipped out on the FZS version 2. It's ugly. FZS, no, sorry, FZS version 3 is ugly. FZS version 2 because it was a little underperforming. It wasn't as responsive, the throttle, I would say. So there goes Yamaha. But obviously, if I had more money to spend, or if I was a little bit financially well off, I would get the MT-15. It's a lot more expensive. It's not worth it buying in Bangladesh. You can get with the same price. You can get an MT-07 or you know what I mean, MT-03 or at a much better bike over here. So why spend the money over there? So I'm not trashing on Yamaha. Yamaha's a great bike. They make great bike. I love Yamaha, but it's just for what was available for the price point that I had, it wasn't worth it. Honda. So I said the Hornet did not have a kill engine switch. It was a little bit slow. If you revved it up, then it became more lively. But overall, there were lots of people that were saying that the build quality wasn't the best. X-Blade, I like the bike. It looks great, but it wasn't the Hornet, and the Hornet was meant to be the more playful bike, right? So I wanted something a little bit more playful, and Hornet wasn't that type of bike. But I do like the looks of Hornet. I do like it. And so what I'm left with is Suzuki Gixxer. And why I did not go with the SF, the Gixxer SF is a little bit more pricier, but why I didn't go with the SF? Because I like a naked bike. I don't want to hunch over and ride my bike. I want to be a little bit upright, comfortable. I want to be able to ride it for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, I don't want to just ride it for half an hour. I don't want to be in that uncomfortable position. Hence why I got a naked bike. And now why I chose the carburetor over the fuel injection right now, okay? Now, fuel injection, it's good to avoid it because there's not a lot of places in my country that know how to service your fuel injector. But carburetor, they're more readily available. A lot of mechanics have worked on it, and they're easier to clean and whatnot, and service. So that's why I got the carburetor. Plus, we don't have that high grade of fuel that's available in North America and the European market. A lot of our fuel are contaminated. So you're trying to put in premium gas, but it's not. It's mixed. Not only do they give you a low grade fuel, but also they cheat you on the quantity as well. So the quality and the quantity, we both have to pay the price for. So that is one of the reasons why I avoided fuel injection. And if you avoid fuel injection, you avoid ABS as well. And to be honest, there were moments that I had close calls, and I wish at that moment I had ABS even during the rain. But once you start riding, you get used to it. You know how to brake better. You know how to handle better, and then you realize, maybe you don't need the ABS. It takes some time to learn, but I don't think it's something that's necessary. ABS is not something that's necessary, nor is fuel injection. I would actually avoid fuel injection because we don't have high quality fuel in our country. And a lot of the times in villages, you go not even remote. You go to some towns. They don't have petrol pumps to give you out of a drum, and those aren't the best quality fuel. Let's be honest. They mix it with other fuel and other oil, and I would avoid it. So now you know why I chose the Gixxer naked version. And now you could ask, hey, why didn't you get the previous version, not the new one? Because I really like the new headlight of the Gixxer. I think the front is so gorgeous. The back looks looks decent. Side profile, everything from all around, from every aspect of the bike. It's a gorgeous bike. I couldn't find the color black, but I got it in blue. I was this close to getting it in red, but thank God, because I hear and I've been told, and the blue holds its value more than the red color. Me personally, the blue kind of grew on me, and I started liking the blue more. And thank God I took the blue, because the dirt doesn't show as much on the blue. Now, if I were to go back, would I still get the same bike? Maybe, maybe not. The reason why I'm gonna say maybe not is because I bought that bike for 2,26,000. Now remember this, 2,26,000, and I sold it for 2 lakhs. So you might think, okay, I only lost 26,000, right? 26,000. That is what? So let's say $350. I could roughly. So that's not bad. Like, hey, why are you complaining? But when I sold it, the inflation has risen so much in Bangladesh that that price became, that bike was then selling for 2 lakh, I think 42 or 46, maybe 42. Okay, so 2 lakh 42, and I had to sell the bike for 2 lakh because I do count the inflation. Remember, inflation is very, very important. It's not that things are getting more pricier, but actually the dollar and the taka and all these fiat currencies are losing its value. So I lost 42,000 taka. If you had asked me now, or if I were to go back, what would I do differently? I would get a used bike. Yeah, so the bike wasn't registered, so I rode it without having a license plate. So what would I do differently? I would get a used bike, and I would make sure that bike is registered, and then I would sell that bike. But I would obviously buy a Japanese bike, and I would sell that bike, and I would try to lose anywhere from 10 to 20,000 taka. And the reason why I think that's a better option is that you don't lose too much money. Because at the end of the day, you're only going to be using for a certain amount of time, and it's not worth it, um, to lose all that money on a new bike. So, and plus, when you buy the bike new, you can't even floor it, you can't even rev it all the way. You have to be careful for the first, I think, 4,000 kilometers. So it's not fun. I want to get a bike, and right off the bat, you want to drive, you want to ride like you stole it. And frankly, that's how I start riding after the first 500 kilometers, because I knew I was going to sell it. So why take it so easy on the engine? Let the next owner worry about that. And I know that sounds pretty bad, but I bought it to enjoy it. So going back or going forward, I'm definitely going to buy a used motorcycle in good condition, that has its registration, that has the registration, and then I will be selling it, and I wouldn't mind taking 10 to 20,000 taka loss. And I think that's a much better deal than buying a brand new bike. Again, some bikes hold their value much more than others, but generally, I'm going to say get a used bike, maybe 1 or 2 years old, and then sell it. Peace out, and be safe, ride safe, and yeah, enjoy.